Hello and welcome. I'm Abhinandan Sekhri, and with me I have the privilege of introducing to you the two founders of UnReal Times. They have very impressive resumes, both C.S. Krishna and Karthik Lakshman. They have engineering degrees, both of them, one from BITS and the other from IIT Bombay, and they're both from IIM Ahmedabad. And after that they decided to do satire. First of all, what do you guys do when you're not writing satire? Or when do you start?
Yeah, basically we for day jobs we do freelance consulting. So we work with mainly in the social sector, social space. Work with NGOs. We work with some
Your NGO
also.
types.
Yeah, the NGO types in social sector development.
And yet you're Modi supporters, at least for this time.
I mean, you could say that. I mean, that's personal, of course. It's not nothing to do with the platform. On a personal level, I suppose we are Modi supporters this time.
They have also written this book called UnReal Election, and I've just finished reading it actually in one sitting, and I really liked it. And I think for all youngsters who are bored of politics or are disinterested in politics, this will get your interest back in for sure. I'm an aptard, by the way. Just
App activist. We are also, we take offense to the term aptard.
First of all, you're Tamilian, you're from Andhra. In the book, there is one very amusing paragraph where they describe Prakash Karat's meeting with the DMK chief, whose biggest problem is that people cannot get his daughter's pronunciation right. He's not as traumatized by the fact that she's in prison as he is that all newsreaders keep saying Kani Mozi. Please, once and for all, tell our newsreaders, how do you pronounce her name?
Why me?
Because you're Tamilian.
Kanimoi.
It's Kanimoi. Okay, all...
Yeah.
See, I don't think you also got it.
Kanimoi. I'm half Tamilian.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
No, even for Tamilians, some Tamilians, even some Tamilians are not able to say it. They just use the la sound. Kanimoli.
Kanimoli. Or some, most of our anchors say Kanimozi.
Anchors, they really kill it. They call some English anchors call them Kanimozi. The Hindi anchors are worse. They call them Kanimochi. And all sort of names.
Mozi, I think one famous anchor from IBN kept calling her Kanimochi. Mozi.
Mozi, yeah. Kanimozi. What is it once again?
Kanimoi.
Kanimoi. Yeah. Moi. That, yeah, a lot of people don't get
Don't make me say it again and again. I'll get it wrong myself.
Possible for
I've been away from Chennai for a long time. So, yeah.
Now, okay, I read this book. A lot of stuff in this book is like very contemporary. Stuff that happened like a month and a half ago. So like good engineering students, you guys like cracked this in the...
We finished the thing by its manuscript by January 6th.
Okay, but there's a lot of stuff from
it was, it was...
So till then it's like we have shadowed the real events. What happens between, so this supposed to go on till the elections and a little bit after that, right? So the stuff from January to April is completely fictitious.
Okay. We crashed the whole process. It was very quick. Finished the manuscript by December end, submitted it on 6th January. And the publishers, to their credit, they really crashed the rest of the procedures in the 2 months. Then we got it in time. We wanted to get it out earlier actually, but this went to legal and it sat there.
They sat on it and that was a huge...
I want to come to that legal aspect of it because I'm just so our viewers know this. It's a satire. It is a piece of fiction based on factual events. All the names and of the organizations and the individuals are correct. Like there's Prakash Karat, Pranoy Roy, Arnab Goswami, Arvind Kejriwal, Narendra Modi. The 2G case is there. Everything is factually accurate in that sense, but it is a satire. Now, everyone's name is the real name, real organization, except two individuals. One is your NAC member, Varuni Roy, who is obviously Aruna Roy, in my view. I could be wrong. And in the end, they have a scene where the final PM contest is happening like a KBC IPL event in a stadium, and a helicopter comes with a stocky industrialist. Those two people, real names haven't been taken. I think that's Mukesh Ambani, and I could be wrong. Why is everybody else the real name and
See,
these two not?
I'll let Krishna handle the Varani Roy part of it, but the second one, it could be any corporate. We just meant it to mean a corporate India,
really?
not Mukesh Ambani per se.
Oh, is that
because the idea is that we're looking at. This is a spoiler actually, so we don't want to get into that part too much.
Okay.
It comes in the climax obviously.
Right,
so.
right. So let's not get into the details of what he comes in, but just.
No, it could be read either way. You could read it as you being an AAP activist. You'd probably tend to read it like that. A normal person might just read it as, crony capitalism.
But just wondering, like when you've taken the real names of everybody else and you've got real characters, why not have this as a real character?
Because there were issues. The legal department wasn't
They told us to.
We kept everything else and so we retained that part.
And so if people can draw the conclusion, then that's good enough.
No, but still, in my view, it actually improves the narrative. Once we changed it, we realized it later. After we changed the name, now we're not going to tell you who the original guy was. Okay, that's left to your interpretation.
Okay.
But once we changed it, it actually became better. The narrative was stronger then.
And
so even the publishers thought it was better after.
And in case of the other character, the NAC member.
Yeah, I just felt guilty
yeah.
taking a name. I mean, she's an NAC member and they've done great work, and I didn't want to. It's in the context of satire. I mean, I guess I should just left it as Aruna Roy, but I just.
It's not like you've been too unkind to her. I think it's all fair.
It was fine, I think.
I just didn't pay attention. I just wrote it down that time like that.
See, we
never ever thought about it later that maybe we should just get it done.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. See, since we did all this very quickly, right, within a span of few months, so we didn't have the chance to look through the whole thing and find out discrepancies like this one.
But
we would have changed it. I mean, had we spotted this early, we would have
sharp of
changed
you to spot that. I mean, I had also thought about it, that why did I...
No, but I can imagine how difficult it would be to write this, because especially to release it now, having packed so many recent developments.
Plus, two guys are writing it, me and him.
How does that work? How do two people
It's not
write?
easy at all. It's very...
I mean, do you write, then you go, for a pee break or coffee, and he says, oh, what's he written? Tuck, tuck, tuck.
Yeah, some of it, that's how those issues are there. A little bit of creative differences, and then also when you're writing, especially, you don't want person's interference, right?
So what we did was we had a lot of brainstorming first. We plotted it out. Thought these would be the chapters, right? So there are 3-4 threads running in parallel in the book. So we thought, you take these 2 threads and I'll take these 2, and then we'll write.
Okay.
And then if someone's feeling a kick for a particular scene or a theme or whatever, or chapter or even a part, he goes for it. And if it doesn't work out, if what he's written, I feel something's not working out, if I have an alternate suggestion for it, so I come up with that suggestion. If he likes it, if he thinks it's better, then we go for it.
Whatever device you use, it worked really well.
I guess there are precedents to the people writing together. Dominic Lepper and those guys have been writing for 30 years without any ego issues, I guess. So I guess.
Or maybe they and we don't know about them.
You wouldn't know about this either.
So I will be honest, it starts off a little slow. But as soon as the contest is built, the setup of the contest between Modi and Rahul, once the contest is set up, it's got hysterical moments. I was actually cracking up on the flight, especially that item number that Rahul does was really phenomenally written scene. You should make a movie on this. Now, how does the legal aspect of this work? Just explain to me that you have everybody's names. You've said Congress, Arvind Kejriwal, Rahul Gandhi, Modi, and then you've taken the piss. So, I mean, just for me to understand, legally there is no, they can't say that you are defaming us, just like, Anil Ambani's notice in the Mint, I quote the book, it says, it reveals a conspiracy and organized design to malign and cause damage to our client's good name and reputation. Because on Planet, Anil and Mukesh, Reliance has a very good reputation.
You know what,
but
Congress...
it doesn't apply to the rest of the people?
The Congress leader, right? I think one of the Congress leaders, I don't know who it is. When they asked about Sanjay Baru's book, he said it's fiction. Now, as if that somehow makes it okay. We are saying it at the outset that this is fiction.
So then you can write.
So it should be okay. From our perspective, I think it should be okay. And
in a very narrow technical sense, it's all fiction.
Sure.
Plus,
no, the 2G case and all.
Yeah. No, plus wherever...
The Cobra Post exposes.
Right. No, wherever we have referred to real incidents or, referred to facts in the real incidents, we have ensured that those are all information which is in the public domain, which has been reported upon by other sources, right? Which is not reasonable. We have ensured that it's as reasonable.
You're not scared that you may get some legal notices of, let's say some chamcha of Rahul says kaise aapne likh diya or some Modi
We might, I mean, I think it'll hold in court, that's it.
we are bracing ourselves for that. I mean, see.
Okay.
The legal, by the way, for 1 month they went through it. A lot of things they wanted us to change. Some things we had to tone down. Some portions, some chapters. Overall, not much, but.
Now, I won't give away any spoilers, but just want to ask, Rahul is very easy to satirize, because he, may be fairly bright, but he comes across, even as someone who's not prejudiced, I think he comes across as pretty dim in his interviews, in his speeches. I mean, you don't quite understand, what is he saying? It kind of misses. But I've spoken to many people who know him fairly well and at a personal level, and they all tell me that, he's really bright. So, have you considered the possibility, because you've completely taken him to the cleaners about just how daft he is, that he may be a super genius, that we just don't get it? Because if so many people who know him well say he's so bright and he's coming across as so daft, it's not even on his beast. How do you think that works?
He may be, you never know. He may be bright, who knows?
Can't rule it out.
We can't rule it out. We don't know him well enough to.
But in your book, though, you've just.
Yeah, because it suited the situation. See, that's up to the reader. I mean, you buy the book and you'll.
Okay, that's so much for Rahul. Now, coming to Modi, there is this one, bit where you have done something with Modi in the book. I don't want to give it away. It'll be a spoiler. Where, if, many of the Modi bhakts who are online were in the habit of reading books and would actually read this to that point, they'd kill you for doing that. Have you considered that?
We have this, theory that those who are really that extreme, right, aren't the type to read satire and spend so much time to read 250 pages of satire. But we could be wrong, and I can't rule this out. There's possibility of those guys coming after us.
No, you haven't received any slaps, ink, punches, nothing?
Not so far. I mean, not for the stuff we do on Real Times.
No, for what you've done in this book.
Not so far. No, thankfully we only received very good reviews so far. But we would know, I suppose, in time we'd find out what will happen.
Which would be a pity, because you are too, you may not be extreme card carrying, flag waving, but you are sympathetic to Modi and you believe he should be given a chance. In that environment, if someone of his extreme brigade read that.
Yeah, but as Karthik said, those people probably will.
Yeah, but any reasonable guy, right, you would see that all the digs are harmless. Right? These are all harmless digs. It's not likely to ruin someone's reputation or whatever. It's just meant to give someone a good time, a reader a good time.
In any case, these extreme, these partisan supporters are there in every party. And you could just as much holds for a AAP supporter or even a Congress supporter, I feel that.
You find them as...
Because we have taken
supporters, you find them? I haven't come across any.
You have crazy people everywhere, on
Twitter, it's pretty much, we feel that AAP supporters give back in good equal measure to BJP partisan supporters.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find the extreme elements in AAP, even worse than BJP extreme elements.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes. On occasions, not on an average level, but I mean, you can't deny the possibility of the existence of
I think it's as you're going, it's election season, and I think emotions are running high right now. So you have. I think things will cool down after the elections. People will start beaming and more accommodating. Now it's just a prize to be won.
I mean, I think it also depends on which way the election goes. Because if the election goes the way of Modi, then maybe they'll cool down. And AAP will be even more belligerent. If there is no Modi wave and he doesn't become PM, I think the Modi supporters will be really pissed off. So, I think it could either way. But either way, the question I want to ask you is that, do you think it's important? I mean, I do. I just want to know what your view is. For a satirist, for an effective and good satirist, to have a political position, it may not be a party position, but to have a political ideology. I mean, those who says we have no political position or ideology. I mean, I don't understand where the satire comes from.
I agree that if you're going to be just artificially neutral, then probably the satire itself kind of becomes slapstick then. So there is a message there for a satirist who's basically pushing a particular point of view.
I mean, it has to come from a position of belief in something. Do you agree?
No, see, I would see it on a case-to-case basis, I wouldn't say you have to have this sort of ideology to be able to satirize it or whatever. Say, every situation, every event, right? We could analyze every event with a logical bent of mind, and take a position with every event, regardless of which party or which political ideology is, and then do a satire on it, and figure out what we feel about it, and then do a satire on it. It doesn't mean that I have to be, a particular siding with a particular.
That. No, I'm not saying that one doesn't satirize what, like for example, I mean, something to up, but we did a spoof of the roadies kind of with Arvind and Rahul selecting up. You can satirize even the position that you support, but philosophically, a satirist has to come from an ideological position. You can't have George Carlin, I think, had said that it is the duty of a comedian to find out where the line is drawn and cross it deliberately. He came from a very ideological position. You think that is missing in many satirists in India?
Well, difficult to say for others. I mean, I agree, but there has to be a certain basic kernel of ideology around which you're basing your whole satire over a period of time. I mean, you might be taking a situation on a case-by-case basis and satiring it, but overall it has to, some pattern does emerge anyway.
Taking the same thing forward, in the West, do you have any favorite satirists, whether it's stand-up comedians, shows, writers? Do you
watch on and off Letterman? I like. I used to watch Letterman a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jon Stewart and
Jon Stewart also. Yeah.
That's Stephen Colbert.
right.
Yeah, those guys are good. And those guys have a pretty much, I think they're kind of pro-democrat.
Yeah, they're very stated ideologically.
And pretty much open about it.
Yeah, and they're open about it. I think they're open about it. I think that is a problem here, that people aren't open about it. So therefore, all sorts of suspicion, if you're just out that this is my position. Exactly.
See, but what a satirist doesn't, but what you don't want to do is, you don't want to be labeled as a party, having a party affiliation, as opposed to having and it is an ideology might not even fit into a particular party ideology. You might have a left of center on economics and have right-wing views in the cultural space. You probably just don't fit into any particular party ideology.
Sure, that's also possible. Absolutely.
So, for a good satirist or any good artist, you don't want to be slotted with a particular party, and then you just become a party hack then, and that's kind of the death of your art.
Right. There was this show called Spitting Image, what Gustakhi Maaf and Double Take NDTV does with those puppets. Now, that ran so long. It was, I think, one of the longest running shows in the UK. And why it ran so long was that every time they came up with another, the audience would say, my God, I don't believe they just said that. These are guys going to be shut down. I mean, they'd keep pushing and pushing the levels of what people were saying, oh my God, how they said that and got away with it. And I mean, a couple of places I, read this and I was like, wow, that's brave. Other than I wish you had kept the names of the other two, but anyway. But
yeah, we were, I think, strongly told to remove those names.
I can imagine a publisher has their own, we've seen that several times. But what I'm saying is that they kept pushing. And that is because journalistically too, in the West, the journalists keep pushing. They are not, in a cozy relationship with those they're reporting on. Do you think satire in India is stunted? And I say this as a satirist as well. The overall level of satire in India is pretty pathetic. I mean, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Do you think it is because the level of journalism is so cowardly that pushing the line is something that is, oh my God, you can't say that. I mean, there's this very comfortable space that journalists like to operate in. I'd say there are few exceptions to that, and I'm not just saying that because I work with her. One is Madhur with Newstrack, who broke that. I know your position on Anirudh and Cobra Post, but they broke that several. Other than these 2 or 3 cases who've been very brave, overall journalists don't like to push the line. They are, they're very cowardly, all in all. Do you think that is why satire is also in its stunted state in India?
Could be. My theory is that satire ultimately, you are dependent on your mainstream media to report the news. They set the overall agenda, they set the narrative where the loci is with respect to the narrative. And you then base yourself off that. Right? You're dependent on them for the news, the information. And that itself is being filtered. That leaves the satirist with fewer options to be able to push the line.
Why do you think satire is stunted in India? And I'd like to ask that question first. Why is it so pathetic? I would think that it's not bad. I would certainly not call it pathetic right now.
I mean, when I compare it to stuff like, Jon Stewart or Stephen Colbert, or when I compare it to in Britain, the kind of shows that they have, and they go way further. Even when I started writing Gustakhi Maaf for NDTV in 2003, I saw Spitting Image, and they have a French show. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's called Unreal. It's the French word for puppets. I saw what they did. I even see some of Pakistan's satire. My God, they don't say anything against the army, but other than that, what they say about their leaders is, other than Unreal Times or one or two people here.
And religion also probably
Religion also, I think they push a bit, but yeah, army they don't touch. But when you compare that, with India, now there are a few cases who are coming up. I personally like AIB. I think they're very smart. I think Unreal Times does some really good work. But if you take the overall, what I grew up with, the Shekhar Sumans, and compare that to what you see in the West, would you say it's of a good quality?
I think Shekhar Suman used to do a lot of parody, right? Mimicry and all that.
Yeah.
Not satire per se, right?
Exactly,
yeah.
mimicry.
So I think the TV shows tend to be a little the slapstick side. Mm-hmm. Even shows like Kapil, Comedy Nights with Kapil and all.
It's not political.
It's not. Plus, it's not very. It tends to be on the slapstick side, actually.
So that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm coming from. When I said pathetic, I meant the political space is really stunted.
Yeah, I think to some extent, I think it's also evolving. Probably will get better. But problem in India, the mainstream media is that one big problem is it's all circumscribed by your corporate interest, right? So there are certain lines you can't cross. You can't cross a certain line with respect to what you say about the corporate class. You can't take a certain line about certain scandals, for instance, in certain channels. You even the whole narrative itself is very artificial right now. You have these artificial cockfights. You're not going into the deep underlying issues. So I think some structural problems with mainstream media in India, because of which a certain voice is not coming out.
Okay. What do you think, Karthik?
About journalism?
About why... Is there a connection in what I just said, or you don't think there is?
Between... no, I tend to I don't think there's a connection between the quality of journalism and the quality of satire.
Quality in the sense how far you can push it.
Yeah.
You don't think there's a connection?
See, I think it also, to an extent, depends on the readers, the people, right, the viewers, especially on TV, for instance. If you see the news shows these days, there is a tendency to sensationalize everything, right? So voices are raised and so all that sort of things, because drama sells, right? It sells more than objective reporting, right?
My point is that basically, if you're going to try to do a show for mainstream media, a satire show with, as you say, push the boundary, I think your hands will be tied. You won't be able to cross certain lines because of the way the way it's structured right now.
Yeah, but do you think it's only because of corporate interest, or do you think even a journalist, just because of the cozy relationship that they're in, there is no distance between them and those who they're reporting on? It is this one little incestuous world.
Well, this is a very valid point, we have a fair distance with everyone. I'm just giving an example, so we don't know anyone, right? But the moment we meet someone, we talk to someone, so you tend to, there's this thought which comes into your mind, what will you think? What will you think of this, right? You don't feel like joking about it anymore.
So you become gentler.
Right? You become gentler, obviously it happens. Just for instance, Ashwin, one of our columnists, he met Rahul Kanwal yesterday. Okay, so far he took digs at him big time. He's like calling him all sort of things. All harmless stuff mostly, but he took digs at him. But the moment he met him, it's like, oh, he's a very nice guy. I won't make jokes on him. Bachcho ki kasam. He said it sarcastically. Bachcho ki kasam, he said it.
Kejriwal take off.
Yeah, he was basically pulling a joke on Arvind Kejriwal. Correct. But no, I'm sure he's going to joke about him. It's not a...
Yeah. No, but I know what you're saying.
That thing does come in. You tend to think twice.
A barrier gets created.
So which is why what I want to do is I don't want to meet too many people. Be as low profile as possible.
That's great. I think that's a
yeah, and so... that's a point I concede. The closer you get to people, it's more difficult to take shots at them. Because there's a tendency, the person might just call you up and say, "Ye kya likh diya mere pe?"
Or like Murli Manohar Joshi's recent interview saying, "मैं तुम्हें बाहर नहीं जाने दूंगा." Just to give you an idea, like, although hats off to the journalist for saying that I won't do an interview unless, this is regarding an interview of Zee TV's journalist who was interviewing Murli Manohar Joshi, and Murli Manohar Joshi said, "You will not ask that question. and unless you give me the tape, I will not let you leave. Well, that's a direct threat. In all fairness to the journalist, he says that I will not conduct an interview unless I'm allowed to ask a question. But he didn't say, how dare you say that to me? You see, a man saying that I will not let you leave my premises until you give me that tape is a threat. And as a journalist, let's say it was anyone else who said, suppose I say I won't let you get out of here. You'd say, bloody go to hell, I'll kick you on the face and I'll get out of here. But if I'm a politician, you'll try to reason with me. I think there is a certain level of cowardliness with how we deal with politicians. And that reflects that gets extended to the kind of satire that finds its way into mainstream. And that was the point I was making. Sorry.
No, we could just, I can only talk about it from my perspective, right? So from our perspective, we are still independent. So, we can't relate to all these things. We take digs at people as we want, and just we try to be reasonable. That's the only thing. So all the constraints are all self-imposed. They're not externally imposed. So which is why I find it difficult to relate what you're saying, right? Because I'm not a journalist myself. He's also not a journalist. We both
Yeah, they're just
so if you'd asked this question to a journalist who's turned a satirist, he would have given you a very deep answer.
Yeah.
But ours is
you have a better perspective on the whole.
Yeah, you have a better perspective.
And the inside
so we are, we are the real armies actually. I can't take it.
We just wonder why some channels behave the way they do, what's going on. There's always insinuation and this whisper campaigns on Twitter. Yeah. You don't know what's going on. We don't know actually.
So we never felt constrained by anything. That's from we can only talk about ourselves.
I think social media basically this whole people on Twitter and Facebook where it's more unfiltered, right? So that's something very exciting. That's where it's a new kind of dynamics evolving right now.
So also what you said holds for those who are, because of social media, right? Because of social media, you have lots of such content coming up, fearless content.
Right.
So
because social media gives you anonymity.
It's no more, and after a point of time, mainstream media is forced to cover something which has been raised by social media. So I think this is lesser and lesser of an issue as we go forward.
Did you invent this whole Facebook spoof thing? Are you guys the creator of the Facebook?
No, I think
spoof?
people used to do it earlier.
That was earlier done.
But we've sort of mainstreamed it. We keep doing it again and again. It's a very popular format, It's slightly visual and.
So who does what? How does it work between the two of you?
Facebook, we do together. We contribute both together. We also invite.
Very good at the graphics and all.
So I do a little bit of graphics. It's a very small team. We don't.
What's your team?
See, the core team is the three of us, myself, Krishna, and Ashwin.
In Bangalore?
Yeah, in Bangalore. So we sort of work regularly every day. Then we have an extended team. We have people from, different parts of the country. We have a guy called Ajinder Reddy.
Ajinder Reddy, he's working more and more closely.
So we have a guy called Anand Valunchkar. We have several such people.
Vaidya.
From across parts of the country.
Different parts of the country.
So
it's all virtual.
This collective,
So we are, in a sense, we're coming up with a new business model, There's nothing physically, everything is online.
That's
and
fantastic.
keep costs shallow, as I'm saying it half in jest. Keep costs shallow as low as possible and try and stay independent.
We're not making any money out of it right now, just Google ads.
Have you not received an offer from TV18 or Mr. Ambani yet?
Mr. Ambani? Oh, no, we're not Ambani
agents. We were Ambani agents, but we are not right
now. We are not Ambani agents. We would give...
I'll tell Arvind to investigate that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll take him to court if he calls us Ambani agent because we are not.
In this book, which is very cinematic, so I keep saying in this scene, there's this character who's this Batman vigilante kind of character who goes around cleaning up the system. And in one scene, he needs to plant a story. And he thinks that, I have to plant it, I should go to the best. And he bypasses Barkha and Rajdeep and goes to Arnab. Now that's got to hurt. Whether the rest of the digs hurt them or not. Do you think Arnab is the best?
Yeah, I think so.
He's written it.
I didn't commit to that.
I go by what Arnab says on his show that News's TRP ratings are more than the combined TRPs of all the other channels.
That's super.
So you have that pie chart which comes up with like about 80% of it is Newsar and small slices for the other channels.
So
he's number one.
He has a stat, right? He says 1 hour of Newsar gets more TRPs than the entire day of other channels. I don't know how true this is, but he keeps flashing this. And that got to hurt, right? That statistic got to hurt. So to give you a serious answer to this, as you said, we just looking at the average reader and what he or she feels,
right?
So that's why
Arnab is the Hulk of this.
Personally, we find different people good for different situations. You know, for instance, when there's something really nasty has happened, something really disgusting has happened, you have to tune into
Arnab,
you know, because we can relate to his outrage, right? And, so he's the best for that.
Okay.
And other situations, sometimes that doesn't work. He tends to do that all the time, right? Sometimes that doesn't work. When you want a more balanced discussion, especially for opinion polls and all, we sometimes tune into, and I personally tune into Sardesai's show. So because you have these good people, you have Swapan Dasgupta, and you have, so their discussion tends to be interesting. Okay. I mean, this is my own personal thing. Headlines Today, I think they have a wider range of news, right? They cover a lot of news. They don't do deep dive into one particular thing. They do a lot of stuff. So sometimes it's nice to watch that.
And NDTV doesn't follow any.
NDTV, yeah, so NDTV Barka's show.
Yeah, sometimes you watch NDTV.
No, we don't have any particular bias to something. We tend to flip channels through all the four.
Yeah, I think an average reader, average viewer, flips channels, and depending on the situation, on what he takes a particular.
There should be a poll actually. I mean, is there a study on how many Hindi-speaking people watch Arnab and those who typically stick to Hindi channels, right?
Would go to an English channel just for Arnab?
Yeah, is there a... Because I think that's probably happening, I'm just guessing, it's my hypothesis.
I think it's very possible. I think it's because he's completely changed what news debates were. Ravi Shastri plays a very important part of this book with his commentary. Now, all those bits over Ravi Shastri's commentary gems, he's actually said those things?
Yeah, absolutely. You mean in cricket matches? Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. So he keeps using these just what the doctor ordered and flashes and flashes hard.
Yeah.
So we just thought it's a nice way to. These are nice ways to label the sections.
Even those who don't follow cricket would know about it, because he said it so often that inevitably would have heard about it.
He's got his own fan following because of this.
Ravi Shastri. Yeah. Okay, there's this one excerpt which cracked me up. You want to read it out as an excerpt for your, just this, from thanks to.
Yeah, you read. Thanks, Arvind.
Thanks, Arvind. This comes when basically Ravi Shastri is interviewing Arvind Kejriwal in this PM contest kind of thing, and this is what he said.
Right. Thanks, Arvind, said Shastri, and added, well, that was Arvind, a cool customer if ever there was one. Flashed and flashed hard and gave the two parties the full Monty. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we begin.
So I thought that was really funny because I've heard him say that full Monty completely out of context. And in this scene, the way this comes in, I think it was hysterical. In case this does get a legal response from any of the people who you may have damaged their reputation, would you venture down that road again? I mean, because a lot of people get intimidated into saying, okay, who wants to pachada kisko lena, which is what a lot of parties and big corporates bet on, that, they can dedicate the kind of resources to shut you up.
Right.
Would you?
Yeah, definitely. No,
would it be worth your time fighting a case?
To be honest, we can't answer it now. I'm giving you a very honest answer, not an idealistic answer.
Sure.
Right? So it's difficult to say now, once you are in that shit. So then you feel differently about it, right? Once you are in that quagmire, you feel much differently about it.
Right. I feel idealistic. I mean you write it to...
He's obviously a better man than me, but...
you're going to this thing.
But less practical.
It's to be practical, but I'm not saying I'd stop it. I might still go ahead with it. I'll probably find the courage in me to do it. Mm-hmm. So we have had issues earlier, with the Unreal Times, right?
Really? Like what?
We did. So we did a video on Manmohan Singh, on Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Singham?
Manmohan Singham, yes.
Yeah.
So that went viral.
Right, I saw
and
that.
We had Congress people filing complaints, police complaints on us, in 2 states, in Pune and some other state.
Then,
nothing happened after that. We just kept it on, and it was...
that didn't escalate into...
It didn't escalate, but we continued doing what we're doing, right? But for a few days, it was a little, we were thinking what will happen, let's see what's going to happen and all that. But we still stuck to what we're doing. So it's, unless we get into that situation, it's not easy to tell, you can't be all... The utterly honest answer is, we hope to, right? We hope to continue doing what we want to do.
And one final question, as satirists, there is a lot of column space and even television space that's dedicated to that in case Modi does become Prime Minister. There's going to be this attack on freedom of speech, and it is this fascist regime will take over. And does that concern you, or do you think that is just ridiculous?
That's ridiculous. I feel it's ridiculous. It's rubbish. I don't think all those things are going to happen. No.
Yeah, with this fascism, Nazi, Hitler, I think his analogies are misplaced. I mean, there's no comparison in Germany of pre-World War time and India of now. It's completely different. It's ridiculous analogies.
And the freedom of speech thing, does that bother you?
I don't think there will be any such issues. This is,
I mean, in constitution, we have good, institutionally India is much more stronger than that. Any one particular party or one individual cannot override the constitution.
This is the age of social media, system. Right? And Mr. Modi understands social media a lot better than other people, right? So I don't think he'll risk doing some, his government, I mean, any government for that matter, because everyone understands social media now.
So you think it's a lot more difficult now than it was, let's say, in the 80s or the 70s?
Yeah, I think because of social media, freedom of speech is probably bolstered now. Stronger now, definitely. So I'm fairly confident. All this is unfounded intellectual nonsense. So I'm pretty sure about it.
All right. So that was the two writers and the co-founders of Unreal Times and the writers of Unreal Election in conversation with News Laundry. Thank you so much for coming. May your Unreal Times go on to bigger and bigger things, and may you remain fearless, whether it is Modi or Rahul Baba.
Yeah.